Hi, this is Dave Brixis with Explosive Sports Performance, exsp.biz. This week's video blog is going to be on toughness. What makes a team tough? What makes a person tough? I think it's always up for debate of what separates somebody's toughness. And one example I got to use, because I've been a critic of them for a couple of years, is Notre Dame. Looking back after Lou Holtz left, back there in the 90s, early 90s, Notre Dame lost that toughness. They became a finesse team, which isn't always bad. I mean, finesse can be okay, but you also got to bring the toughness with it. But Notre Dame didn't have it. When somebody smacked them in the face, Notre Dame just rolled over and took it. I'll never forget, maybe 2-3 years ago, the Navy game. Navy just kept taking it out, taking it out, taking it out. I think the final score was like 35-17 or something like that. Notre Dame scored a late touchdown, 2 touchdowns. But Navy took it to them. Even last year, watching them play Stanford. Stanford took it right at them, and it was just tough for them. Not that they had more superior athletes than them, they just wanted it more. And watching Notre Dame this year, over the course of their games, and especially the past week where they beat Stanford there, that was just straight toughness. So you could say it was a controversial play at the end, the 4th and goal, but still, stop a team 4 possessions, 1st and goal, shows that you want something, shows that you dug deep down and that you were just tougher, you manned up and you wanted it more. And it's interesting to see what makes that team tougher. How did all of a sudden they change? From one year to the next, or from a couple years ago to now, what makes that change? And that's in all of us. What makes us change and what makes us tough compared to somebody else? And that's what you got to ask yourself when you go out there. Sometimes if you're the same skilled person, but you dig a little bit deeper down and say, you know what, I'm not going to lose. I'm not going to give this yard up. I'm not going to let this person score. You can get something out of it. You can really dig down. You can find that. But it has to be trained. It has to be ingrained in you. And a lot of it has to deal with your all-season conditioning, your all-season strength programs, your all-season speed, your all-season explosion. Those are the kind of things that can make it tough. You pushing through when you don't think you can. When you think, well, it's 100 degrees outside. How am I going to push through this? I mean, I have many athletes here in the Northeast of the United States that we were outside a lot. And there were many days in the mid-90s and up here, I mean, many people can attest, you get that humidity to crank up, it feels like it's always up in the hundreds. It's very, very humid. Even if it's like 91 degrees, it can sometimes feel like 100, 105 just from that humidity building in. And almost all summer long, my athletes that I've worked with were outside. I mean, we were going outside at noon, 1 o'clock, and I know a lot of people say, well, that's crazy. They had adequate water, they had all that kind of stuff, but they pushed themselves. And, you know, we monitor them, how much they can go and all this kind of stuff. But they dug deep down inside to say, all right, we can get through this. We can push ourselves. And from the beginning of the summer, where they weren't acclimated to that heat or didn't think they could do it, by the end of the summer, when they left, huge difference. These kids were pushing through, not complaining that it was hot out. They were just doing their job. And it shows out in the field that I've seen a lot of these athletes compete now this fall, how much they're pushing through. When things are tough, that my shoulder hurts, or, my leg's a little banged up here, my ankle doesn't feel right. They're pushing through it, and they're working themselves. They find that toughness deep down. One game I was watching this year, one of my athletes, it looked like he was tackled. They needed like 5 yards. They ran the ball. Looked like he was tackled and wasn't going to make it. About 3 yards. He's going to be 3 yards short. He busted through and kept driving his legs, push it, all the way. He picked up that first down. That's that toughness that lacks in a lot of athletes of today. A lot of our athletes are very skilled, very athletic, can jump out of the building, can run fast, can do all that kind of stuff, but they lack that basic toughness that comes about. You look back 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago, that's what it was all about. I mean, most of the people weren't training per se for their sport. They were in the summertime, working on the farms, doing these kind of manual labor things. They were tough people when it came time for it. Now we've become more sedentary lifestyle. Video games have taken over. TV has definitely become the #1 babysitter in this country, and all that kind of stuff. And I think a lot of these athletes have lost that toughness that it takes to separate yourself. It's not something that's easily there. I mean, it can be, you're not really born with it. You adapt to it by watching your parents, watching other people around you, watching all these things, and you can ingrain that into the athletes of today by really pushing them to the limit. Because a lot of athletes, I don't think, know where that limit is. They start to not feel, well, I'm done. And they stop. They think that's all they can do. Where a lot of them can go past that point. Now, you don't want to put an athlete to the point where they get sick, throw up, all that kind of stuff, just to make them throw up. But you want to push them to that point of, hey, you're going to achieve something great here if you push yourself. But you got to have toughness. You got to dig deep down and push yourself past that point where you think that you can't do it anymore. So going out there, make sure that you look at yourself and say, you know what, am I doing everything I can to be tough today? Not saying I got to go punch somebody in the face and that makes me tough. That's not toughness, that's stupidity. Going out there when you step on the field, on the practice field, and doing everything you can to push through. All right, guys, as a team, we got to stop this team. It's first and goal. Are we going to be able to do it? Notre Dame did it as a collective, as a team. They played as tough as they could not to let Stanford in, and they ended up winning in overtime. They found that. And even though they were losing, they got the big touchdown that they needed. Big drive to kick the field goal. They did those kind of things. That's toughness. That's one. That's wanting to be better and wanting to be better than the team you're playing against and wanting it more. That's all that is. That's that toughness that's ingrained that we have to ingrain in our athletes of today to get them back to that standard. Because these athletes are great. They are very, very gifted. But let's separate them and make them tough now. So go out there, get these athletes going, get yourself going if you're an athlete, find that deep down inside, get that toughness. Make sure, not only toughness, but you got to unleash that potential.